We've all been there in our 20s, where life's uncertainties merge with our dreams. Amidst this chaos, we also start to feel the loneliness of having to do the same mundane tasks every single day. It feels like we're trying to find our path in a world that's both limitless and confining. We all seem to be comparing our journeys to others, seeing if we even measure up. We start to feel lost in the shadow of somebody else's highlight reel. It's easy to feel that everybody except you has it all figured out. They have the perfect jobs, go on exciting adventures, and are in the perfect relationships, while you're sitting at home scrolling through social media wondering when it'll be your turn. But deep down, we know it's normal to feel lost, even if it doesn't seem like it. Your 20s is just a fraction of your life, and it's the perfect time for learning, self-discovery, and personal growth. Your 20s can be a scary time, but that's also what makes it so special. I feel like at some point everybody in their 20s feels a little bit lost because you go from this like carefree lifestyle of being in school, just being around friends, not really having much responsibility, to now having to like figure everything out. And nowadays, with not only just the rise of social media, but also people only posting their highlights, it's really easy to feel like you're falling behind. And that's why I wanted to talk about like ways you can overcome the feeling of just feeling lost in your 20s. And I think it's a little bit different from other videos like this where the people are usually like later in the 30s or 40s where they've already experienced it and they're telling you from like a different perspective, which is also great. But I feel like this perspective is somebody who's in it and who's feeling it, and things that I've done that I feel like have helped me. So the first tip I have is less consumption. Now what I mean by this is less consumption of media, less consumption of social media, the news, pretty much just less consumption of negative things. Now why this is important and why this can help is, number one, just like you'll feel less fear of missing out. When you're on social media, it's so easy just to see people's highlights. People are like always doing something cool. You're kind of sitting at home just feeling lost, feeling like you don't know what to do. And if you see that, it's definitely gonna make you feel worse about yourself. I know for me, like LinkedIn was a big part of this, to where I'd go on LinkedIn and I'd see people like all the time. Every time I get on, like somebody got like a new job or a new promotion, or they're doing something super cool. They're like, you know, last week I just graduated from Harvard and now I work for the president. And that's what it always seemed like on LinkedIn. And, you know, I'd be looking at it like, I'm not at the job I want to be at. Consuming less of that will help you, because seeing other people do that and you feeling down about it isn't really going to help you get to what you want to do. Like if your goal is to get a better job, seeing somebody else do it, like it can be motivating for sure, but also too much of that and just feeling negative and feeling down about yourself all the time isn't going to help you to go out there and network, meet recruiters, interview for roles, and eventually get the job you want. And also it kind of takes away from feeling the appreciation of what you already have. You know, for me personally, like I have a job now and a lot of people don't have a good job. And, you know, I have a job where it's like pretty relaxed. I have a good team I work with, and, I get to work from home. And those are all things I should be, happy about. But just like seeing other people always posting their highlights, it's gonna make you feel worse about yourself. Also, social media can really blur the lines between reality and not reality. A lot of times if you consume too much social media, you'll kind of lose your self-identity. You'll start just becoming what everybody else is on social media, or just doing what everybody else does, following the trend. And you're kind of losing that identity of yourself. And the more and more you lose of it, the more and more you'll feel lost, because you'll feel like you're doing things just for other people's sake and you're not really getting joy and happiness out of it. And not getting joy and happiness out of those things will lead to only feeling more lonely, because you're not doing what you truly want to do. So less consumption will allow you to just be more of your true self and feel less worried about other people's opinions. Another thing that is very helpful to feeling less lost in your 20s is setting actionable goals. In the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, he talks about how just getting 1% better every single day will lead you to be really, really good at whatever you're trying to do in just a year. Like you'll have gained so much knowledge, you'll have improved what you're trying to do so much just by improving a little bit every single day. And to do that, you could start by just setting actionable goals. And this actually makes a lot of sense when you think about it, because if you're in school your whole life before your 20s, everything is so like goal oriented, right? Like let's say for example you're in university, you have a midterm that you're working towards. So you have these small assignments that you're working up towards your big midterm test, or you have these projects from midterm that you're working on until you get to your final. So it's like small actionable things to get you ready for that big test or that big final. And you're in this system for so long. You're always in this time where people have these deadlines and they have these goals for you to hit. and they're kind of planned for you already. But once you leave and you're in your 20s and you're kind of out of college, you don't have that anymore, so that structure kind of falls apart. So it's important to just like build back up that structure and have small goals that you do maybe every single day. They don't even have to be super important, but just having those small goals that you can hit will improve your day-to-day so much. That way you can work towards whatever your big goal is. A couple tips on how to help improve is just one, like creating a vision board or creating some sort of written plan. It'll help you visualize kind of what you're actually working towards. Another thing is feel free to regularly adjust what you want to do and bail on things that you don't want to do. I feel like a lot of people who are like in their 20s feel that they choose something and they have to stick to it. And if they don't, it's kind of like, oh, you're taking an L, or you're like, oh, you're not as good as you thought you were. It's like, me personally, I'm trying to bail on an idea as soon as I realize, oh, this is not going to actually help, or this is not going to get me where I want to. Now, that doesn't mean you should just quit things like 2 seconds in when it gets hard, but if you like do something and you're realizing, oh, this isn't actually that beneficial, let me move on to this other thing which can improve my quality way more, I feel like it's completely fine to do that. Another thing that I find very helpful in order to feel less lost in your 20s is actually just like talking to older people. Now, I think this is like the opposite of what people do these days. Like young people, they really just kind of don't like older generations. And I think as Gen Z people, especially if you're like in your early 20s right now, or like young millennials, they feel that they don't want to talk to other people outside of their age because they're out of touch with reality and they're like not, you know, progressive enough or whatever they feel. But in talking to like older people, I find that that's not accurate at all. Like, I think social media makes you perceive that it's like that. Like if you talk to an older person, they're gonna be so out of touch. They're gonna be saying this and that. But when you actually get to talk to them, they have like the most wisdom and knowledge you can find. I'm in this like hiking group where we walk every Sunday, and majority of the people there are like older than me, and talking to them is actually like a breath of fresh air because you're in this bubble of just talking to like people your age, talking about the same stuff. And a lot of times I feel like, especially being on like a self-improvement, self-development path, that a lot of young people are just talking about stuff that I don't care about. And talking to older people, they're trying to like impart wisdom on me, or they're trying to show me like it's okay to be lost. Like in your 20s, like this is where I was, and you're like, oh, this person's really successful now, and this is how they were in their 20s or when they were young. And it really like just like opens your eyes, it opens your perspectives. And a lot of times like people who are older have experienced so much, you know, they've traveled the world, they've worked here, they've worked there, they've been in relationships, they've failed, they've succeeded, and they're so much more open to just being honest and transparent. And in my opinion, like talking to people who are older than me has always been like a plus. And my last point on how to stop feeling as lost in your 20s is travel, but in a broader sense, find your passion. And in this, embracing self-discovery. Now, what I mean by finding your passion or embracing self-discovery is just try new things, you know. Don't feel like you have to figure out by like 21, 22, like, oh, this is what I'm really into. Just try different things. And a great way for me to find this out was like traveling to different places, trying new things and experiencing new culture. Now, if you have the opportunity and the privilege to travel, definitely take that up. But when I traveled a lot in my 20s, like after college, I realized like one of my big passions is like just traveling, because I love meeting new people, I love talking to people. And that was something that maybe I didn't really know I felt in my beginning part of my 20s, like last like 2-3 years, when I really like, oh, I really like putting myself out there. I like really just like going into a random place where I don't know anybody and trying to make friends. That's what I enjoy doing. And I wouldn't have done that if I didn't start traveling more. It doesn't have to be travel, it can be something else for you. And the point is just try a bunch of new things and just embrace self-discovery. I think a lot of people sometimes also, they're afraid when they try something new and they don't like it. They're like, oh, this sucks and I'm gonna stop trying new things. But that's not the point. Like, not liking something after trying it is so much more beneficial than not trying at all. And if you try something and you don't like it, that's actually a really big positive as well, because you just figured out like, oh, okay, this is not exactly what I like. This is not exactly what I like doing. So like, let me readjust. Let me try to, try this other thing, which I might like more. The point is just try to get yourself out there more and try new things, embrace self-discovery. Feeling lost in your 20s is a very common thing. But the question is, are you gonna let that feeling lost define you? The only person that can help you is yourself. But taking these steps will help you feel a lot less lost and help you feel like you can figure out what exactly you want to do in your 20s and go down a path that you will truly enjoy. Let me know what you guys' thoughts are, and drop down any other tips you have for people who are feeling lost in their 20s. If you enjoyed this video, drop a thumbs up. Till next time, I'm out. Peace.